The breakfast rush had ended at Sullivan's diner when Robinson Kane walked through the glass door, the small bell above chiming softly in the quiet that followed. He wasn't supposed to be there. Championship training camp in Las Vegas started in 48 hours, but his flight had been delayed, and hunger had pulled him off the highway into this small Pennsylvania town he'd never heard of. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and syrup. Red vinyl booths lined the windows, and a jukebox in the corner played something old and scratchy. Robinson slid into a booth near the back, his gym bag heavy on the seat beside him. His knuckles were still wrapped from this morning's session, the tape stained with sweat and the faint trace of blood from a cut that wouldn't quite heal. That's when he saw her. The waitress moved between tables, with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this job too long. Her name tag read Emma. She couldn't have been older than 28, with auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. When she approached his table, Robinson noticed her hands first. They trembled slightly as she set down the water glass. Then he saw her wrist. The bruise was dark purple, almost black in places, shaped like fingers that had gripped too hard. She caught him looking and pulled her sleeve down quickly, that rehearsed smile faltering for just a second. "What can I get you?" Her voice was soft, apologetic, like she was sorry for existing in the space she occupied. Robinson had seen bruises like that before. Growing up in South Philadelphia, he'd watched his mother wear turtlenecks in summer and sunglasses indoors. He'd been 10 years old when he finally understood why she flinched when his father came home drunk, 15 when he was big enough to step between them, 17 when his father's fist finally found someone who could hit back. That was the night Robinson discovered he could fight. Really fight, not just schoolyard scuffles, but the kind of violence that could end things. He'd put his father through a wall that night, and the old man never raised his hand to his mother again. Boxing became his way out, his way to turn rage into something controlled, something purposeful. But sitting in Sullivan's diner, watching Emma's hands shake as she wrote down his order, Robinson felt that old anger stirring. "Just coffee and eggs," he said quietly. "And miss, you okay?" The question hung in the air between them. Emma's smile froze. Her eyes darted toward the kitchen window where a man stood watching, arms crossed, expression hard. She nodded quickly, too quickly, and hurried away. Robinson watched the man in the kitchen. Thick-necked, with the kind of build that came from labor, not gyms, and eyes that followed Emma's every movement with something that made Robinson's jaw tighten. The way she moved around him, making herself smaller, never turning her back. Robinson had seen this dance before. If you believe that real strength means standing up when someone can't stand for themselves, take a moment to subscribe, because what happens next will remind you that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear boxing gloves and refuse to look away when it matters most. Emma returned with his coffee, her sleeve riding up again as she poured. More bruises, fresh ones, yellow and green around the edges where they were healing. Robinson's hand shot out, gentle but firm, stopping her wrist mid-pour. "How long?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Please don't," she whispered back. "He's watching. What's his name?" "Derek, he's the cook. We live together. I don't have anywhere to go." Robinson released her wrist carefully. "You know who I am?" She shook her head. "Robinson Kane. I'm a boxer. Championship fight next week. They're gonna put it on every screen in every sports bar from here to California." He paused, making sure she understood. "That means I know a lot of people. Lawyers, cops, social workers. People who help women like you get out." "He'll kill me if I leave," Emma said, and the certainty in her voice broke something in Robinson's chest. "No, he won't." Robinson pulled out his phone, typed quickly, then showed her the screen. "That's my manager's number. You text him the word help, and he'll have 3 squad cars here in under 10 minutes. That's my promise to you." Emma stared at the number like it was a lifeline she was afraid to grab. Before she could respond, Derek's voice cut through the diner. "Emma, kitchen, now." She flinched. that full-body recoil that told Robinson everything he needed to know. She started to move, but Robinson stood up. All 6'2", 215 pounds of him. Derek's eyes narrowed as he stepped out from behind the counter. "Something you need, friend?" Derek's tone carried the kind of false politeness that barely masked the threat beneath. Robinson didn't raise his voice. "Didn't need to. Yeah, I need you to understand something. Emma here is under my protection now. You touch her again, and I don't care if it takes me a year to find you. I will. And when I do, you'll learn the difference between hitting someone who can't hit back and someone who's trained their whole life to break men like you." The diner went silent. An elderly couple by the window stopped eating. The teenager behind the register looked up from her phone. Derek laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You threatening me?" "No," Robinson said calmly. "I'm making you a promise. Walk away now, today, and you get to keep your teeth. Stay in her life, and I guarantee you'll be drinking through a straw for 6 months." Something in Robinson's eyes must have convinced him. Derek's bravado cracked. He looked at Emma, then at Robinson, then at the door. "This isn't over," he muttered, but he was already backing toward the exit. "Yes," Robinson said quietly. "It is." Derek left. The door swung shut behind him, and for a long moment, nobody moved. Then Emma collapsed into the nearest booth, her whole body shaking with sobs that had been held back too long. Robinson sat across from her, sliding a napkin across the table. "He'll come back," Emma whispered through her tears. "No, he won't. Because you're going to call the police right now and file a report. Then you're going to call my manager, and he's going to connect you with a women's shelter that has a bed waiting tonight. And tomorrow, you're going to wake up in a place where no one will ever hurt you again." The elderly man from the window approached, his weathered hand resting on Emma's shoulder. "We saw everything, young lady. We'll testify if you need us to." The teenager at the register nodded. "I got video on my phone. Posted it already. It's got like 2,000 views." Robinson smiled grimly. Derek wouldn't show his face around here again. Not with the whole town watching now. 3 hours later, Robinson sat in a police station giving his statement. Emma was in another room, safe, talking to a victim's advocate. His phone buzzed. His manager texting, "Your flight's rescheduled. Vegas in 3 hours. You're going to miss training." Robinson typed back, "Worth it." When he finally made it to Vegas, 2 days late and exhausted, his trainer was furious. But when Robinson won his championship fight by knockout in the 4th round, he dedicated it to someone in the post-fight interview. "This is for Emma," he said into the camera, his face bruised and swelling. "Who taught me that the hardest fights don't happen in the ring? They happen in diners and homes and quiet moments when someone decides they deserve better. She's braver than any fighter I've ever met." The clip went viral. 20 million views in 3 days, and because of it, domestic violence hotlines saw a surge in calls. Women who'd been silent for years finally reached out. Emma sent Robinson a message 6 months later. "Just 3 words. I'm free now." Robinson kept that text. Before every fight, he'd read it. A reminder that some victories matter more than belts and titles. That real strength isn't about how hard you can hit, but about who you're willing to stand up for when the world looks away. Because heroes don't need a ring or a crowd or a championship on the line. They just need to be in the right place at the right time and brave enough to say, "Not on my watch." If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember that courage comes in all forms. And subscribe to see more stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things when it matters most. Because the world needs more people who refuse to look away.